look at it, now it's fast, but you still see that my arms are going out straight. The speed version. You feel like that. Power version is slower, but the moves should be stronger. You should feel like, oh, move him back. One hit. So power, relaxed. Like that. So that's still coming from the floor. From there. So your description of what the power punch would feel like would be like it goes, you're aiming through the target, through him. So the whole triangle from your body, your fist, everything from your center, you're gonna move that center and go into him. Like this. So your triangle, transport it through him. Imagine you're a sword right now. You're gonna stab the sword through outside. This is your sword tip. You're going in. Like that. And that's where the power of your punch will come from. So everyone? Alright, Katie here is a student who's been doing Wing Chun for almost a month now. And so far, Wing Chun is still pretty new to you, but what do you think of the Wing Chun Punch so far?
I think the Wing Chun Punch is really effective, especially for someone small like me. There's a lot of burst power in each punch, and I think it's just really advantageous for someone like me who doesn't have that much power, but can still be really impactful.
So Alan, you've been one of my sparring partners for many years now, and you've been the receiver of many Wing Chun punches. So you know very well as an opponent what are the Wing Chun punch's strengths and its weaknesses.
Strength is there's always constant pressure, and that pressure is really hard to sort of like take off of you. So pretty much if you're hit, it sort of makes your brain think, oh shoot, I just got hit. And you get hit again and again, it just like destroys everything. It's like a battering ram, always breaking down the door until the door eventually breaks. Weaknesses? Well, I'm not really a good example of exploiting the weaknesses that well, but based on what I see, and if I ever get lucky, the Wing Chun Punch, like, it is semi-limited by the fact that it's just one continuous punch. So if you're lucky enough to somehow just slip and get close in on like a clinch or something, you won't be able to use it as effectively. But that is if you can get in. And then also stepping to the side too. Sometimes what I try to do is because I'm too scared to take a chance, you know, getting knocked even more. So I try to just get away from it. If I see a Wing Chun Punch coming at me, I just try to step away, step to the side, or run away from it, but easier said than done.
And essentially fight smart. Essentially fight smart.
It's fight smart.
Asking about my Wing Chun Punch, well, we talk about training our punch. Not just from the wrists, the elbows, and the shoulders, but we talk about training everything in our body, and that's just Sifu Ralph Daniels Wing Chun. So it's not like we were just talking about this. It's not like when we're fighting someone that we go and train our punch and do it like that, like wow. But in our training, we might do it like that because we haven't access to everything. And that's sort of what I've been taught. Because for me, it's been okay. Look at my body is like still and moving, maybe only here, and you're doing your chain punches like this or something. But you don't, let's say, do your shoulders. You don't use your hips. You don't use your ankles, your knees, your hips, your spine, everything. So you could choose one. You know, okay, I'm going to only work on my wrist today, or I'm going to only just work on my elbow, or I'm just going to work on your shoulder. See if you can knock someone with that, or with your partner. And then we'll try and think about slinging something forward, and that way you're actually developing everything, and you're developing full body motion rather than you're going to be punching like this. It's kind of like boxers. Boxers don't punch like this, right? You see them, they're ready, you see them coming from the floor, they're going, boom, right? Everything coming up. You see their whole cascade, everything from the legs all the way up. And my teacher, he always talks about what's Wing Chun, Chinese boxing, so it's still boxing. So that's how sort of how I'm learning and trying to improve my punch and make sure we've got that punching power. Because if you can get that first punch in, it better be strong, or it better not be boom, oh shoot, and the guy just strangles you. Just like in Game of Thrones. Is that right?
Just like in the Game of Thrones, like a guy got straddled, yeah.
I'm in! Oh, but it was like weak. Didn't come from.
Alright, you get to demonstrate a point of view, me getting hit.
Point of view. Is there a point of view?
Yeah, I can see you. Like from me getting hit, what
Really?
it looks
You can
like.
see that?
No,
oh,
not really. Just
so here's nothing, right? I'm just using my fist or something like here, right? Can you see that, right? So here, let's just say I'm just using the shoulder part and I'm dropping everything down.
Ooh.
And that's just the shoulder part, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
That's without everything. And imagine if you're using everything plus you let go of your wrist, elbow, and punch. And it just adds up. Little tiny, little bit of.
Hi, so my name is Daniel Laurence. I have a mixed fighting style of Krav Maga and Wing Chun. I learned in the military and then later on afterwards. When it comes to the Wing Chun Punch, I use it when I'm fighting someone, usually in the beginning of a fight, or if I want to make it a speed game, if he's bigger or whatever. So a lot of times if they're smaller, if it's a corner I'm stuck, I'll do a traditional Krav Maga power punch. But if it's someone who I think I can catch off guard or someone who I want to be really aggressive towards, a lot of times I'll try to use speed. And then I'll do is I'll change direction. So if they're here and I try to come out at speed and they're trying to do a game, then I like to move around a lot. And I'm a smaller guy, I kind of need to move around a lot in order to make sure I don't get overpowered. And the speed behind the Wing Chun gives that. Whereas the boxing punch and the Krav Maga punch gives the power. Some guys are a little too big and some guys are a little too fast and need to outspeed them. So I use a little bit more of like a Wing Chun style punch. So come forward and then shift around in angles.
So the footwork. Yeah.
So it depends on the opponent. You can come straight. I like to come on an angle. I just like to switch right and left. So obviously speed, strength, all of it depends on who you're fighting, the style they use, but the reason I was using speed is because two things. One, getting punched in the face hurts, even if you're not that strong. You don't need a full truck to run somebody over. You could use a car. Really, you don't need all of your power. You're not wearing gloves. And the second reason is when you move forward or an angle forward, that momentum, that movement gives you a lot more power than turning your shoulder, turning your hip. They are really important, but the actual movement gives you a lot of power, so I can use the speed part and let my movement carry through with the power and use it that way.
I don't know what it is. Good. Okay.
Good. Yeah. Hi, so I'm here with Danny Horgan, the host of Wing Chun Blast. So Danny, you've been around 5 episodes now and a lot of guest shows. And you've seen many different uses of the Wing Chun Punch. And I know you're an avid user of the Wing Chun Punch yourself.
Right.
What is your opinion on it? And why do you think some Sifus think that it's better to go slower and stronger than just a quick blitz of Wing Chun punches?
I have seen both methods used, both in practice and in application. I think both have their merits, and the answer lies somewhere in between, like it always does with Wing Chun. The slow, methodical Wing Chun punch that's perfectly aligned and has all that relaxed power behind it is absolutely deadly. I've felt that before, and it's not fun to take. I do think, though, that as human beings, we're limited in how we can react to pressure in real time. It's impossible for our brain to react fast enough on a physical level, on a molecular level, to perfectly align your body every time to achieve that type of punch. So ultimately, if you're too focused on the proper alignment, you're too focused on getting everything behind that punch, the fight's going to be over before you even have a chance to throw. On the flip side, the speed punches oftentimes lack power, and I think that that's something that can get a lot of Wing Chun guys in trouble. They look great slapping somebody, you know, having fun because their hands are that fast, but the actual application of it doesn't work because a lot of guys can just walk through those things, come in, throw a hook, and they're out. So ultimately, I think the best combination of the Wing Chun punch is somewhere in between that really solid technique where you're aligning your body and that rapid fire attack. Ultimately, when I train both things, and I think that my application lies where I'm throwing as many punches as I can. I'm trying to overwhelm my opponent, but I also have good structure behind it. I also have that good relaxed power behind it, so it's actually still hurting them and not just disorienting them.
So if you looked at the Wing Chun Punch in itself, whatever speed, what do you think are its greatest strengths and its greatest weaknesses?
I think the efficiency of it is probably the best strength. You know, even in the midst of chaos, a lot of times the most effective line of attack is the straight line. It's the least amount of distance you have to cover, and a lot of guys just aren't used to that. You know, it's amazing how many guys you can walk up to, throw a punch right down the middle, and they're just not ready for it. And when you're attacking the opponent's center, think of what you're attacking. You have the brain, you have the heart, you have the spine. Everything that's important in your body is right down the center. So that's the strength. The weakness, I feel, lies in, again, that chaos of combat. A lot of times, that straight line just doesn't present itself in the way that you would see it, say, playing back on camera. So you're so used to taking that straight, efficient line, but a lot of times that may not be the best route of attack. A lot of times the most efficient route may be around the opponent's center
That's true.
line.
Actually, a lot of Wing Chun practitioners got so used to practicing on a punch bag
Right.
that when they face a live blocking opponent, they realize that they don't know they're blocked.
They can't
They
go
don't know
through.
how to go around. Yeah.
Right, and I think a lot of times, because of how much you need to align your body for it to actually have power behind it, again, it lacks power. So that's another weakness of that punch.
That's true. And as possibly the biggest Wing Chun fanatic in the world, possibly, the one who's bringing transparency to the art, apart from myself, what do you feel like the Wing Chun Punch as the main technique of Wing Chun means to you itself?
I think, when I think of Wing Chun, I think of overwhelming an opponent. The reason I feel, one of the reasons why I feel Wing Chun hasn't exactly worked so well in a sporting context is because, for me, the art is most efficient when it's being used at a high speed. It's almost like a sprinter running a 400-meter sprint or a 200-meter sprint. You can't keep that pace up for, say, a 5K road race, a 3-mile road race. And when you have that translated to sport, you're looking at 3 5-minute rounds. You just can't keep that pace up. I think that Wing Chun is most effective when it's used in a 15 to 45 second span, which ultimately is great for self-defense when someone's up in your face. And what makes the actual Wing Chun punch so effective is the fact that when you're constantly overwhelming your opponent's center, and you have that blitzkrieg mentality, you're eventually going to get through. And once you're into that close Wing Chun range where you can really launch through the guy, you have that concussive effect, you have that overwhelming effect, and I don't see a whole lot of people, trained or not, being able to deal with that when used at full speed.
Yes, and when it's bare fist as well against the weak parts of the face, like the eyes and the nose and mouth,
Right.
then it's much more effective.
And I know one other thing noted, a lot of people, they talk about the deadly eye gouge, right? But
You can actually pull it off on camera.
right. And I think that when you have that, when you have access to a guy's face, when you're constantly attacking the center line, you don't necessarily need to do a finger jab to the eye. You can just get your hand on the face, and then from there kind of use that melon grabbing technique where you're literally clawing. And I think that the Wing Chun punch can translate into that very well in terms of closing distance, whether it's from long range to medium range, or even getting your hand on a guy's face.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.